Well, Caryn, it's been 2.5 years since we last met when I came to the States to interview you for what is now the book 9 Secrets to Thriving, but at the time was the Global Resilience Project. It is such a joy to see you again. Hello.
Likewise. You look great.
So do you. I love the painting behind your head as well. It's great. So obviously, I have the privilege of sharing your story of flourishing in the face of adversity and going through so much of what you went through and being able not just to survive but thrive. And I'm very humble to share that story in the book, and also really excited because you voiced some of your own words in the audiobook. So we have your voice on the audiobook as well. That's out in September. And I was really keen to bring your experience of flourishing in the face of adversity to the pandemic that we're facing right now. And so many of us are facing worries about our health, struggles with being confined with family, financial worries. I don't think there's a person in the world who hasn't been shaken to the core by the pandemic. And I wondered what your experience of having been through a number of adversities and being able to flourish in the face of that, what that has brought to bear on your experience of COVID. And in the spirit of service, whether you have any insights that have worked for you that you might want to share with the viewers of this video.
Well, thanks, Emma. I would have to say that, like everyone, when, the pandemic became a reality, I thought that this would just be kind of a short-term thing and we would be stuck in our homes. And so it was kind of fun to connect with people on Facebook and see how other people were handling things. And then, of course, we realized that this was not a short-term thing. And I really needed connection with people outside my home that I would get through different civic organizations that I belong to or social activities with friends and family. So that's just been really fun. Also, in terms of connection, I have a 29-year-old son who has autism, who's lived on his own for a number of years and gotten support from paid staff. Well, once we realized that this was going to be a serious thing, we moved him into our lower level. And my husband, who is his stepfather, and he have gotten to spend a lot of time together and get to know each other. They're two introverts who were forced to have conversations over dinner. And then I've gotten to spend a lot of time with him, and he and I have been able to connect as adults in a way where it's not just mom telling him what to do or whatever. So that's been a real blessing. In terms of service, for me, doing for others has been such an important part of moving through the various challenges that I've had in my life. That's been pretty hard. I started off in the springtime with my son doing what we have here, Meals on Wheels, delivering meals to people who were shut in. And I just got more and more nervous about doing that. And so we stopped doing that, but might start it again. And I really have felt sort of an emptiness there, because that is such a part of how I have moved through difficult things, is to reach out and connect and do something for someone else, because it's always taken my mind and my heart off of my own troubles, whatever they might be. And so that's been a challenge. But I think that the thing that I've relied upon the most, which isn't something that I'm known for in your story, is the self-help. I realized that I needed to get out of the house. And so as soon as the weather here in Minnesota improved, I started playing tennis outside. I've been playing golf with my husband. He loves it. I'm trying to learn to love it. But it's been something for us to do together. We go biking, we go for walks, just to get as much vitamin D as I can, to just move my body as much as I can. And, during the activities, whichever they may be at the time, I'm not thinking about what's going on in the world, because, of course, in addition to the pandemic, I'm right here at the epicenter of, the George Floyd situation, and that's been pretty difficult here in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Can I just jump in, and Caryn, because when I was struggling in the early days of the lockdown, I did turn to the manuscript, the 9 Secrets to Thriving manuscript, and really sort of treated it as if it was a support manual written just for me in these times. And your story was, and your wisdom, your insights, that was one of the things that really rescued me from quite a significant dip. Because, your story is there. I'm not going to go into that, but spoiler alert, one of the key insights you had was, when you're feeling low or you're feeling like you're not thriving, it's really important to reach out and do for others. Right. Quote unquote, that's what you said. And I thought, okay, right, because I'm a speaker and a writer, all my speaking gigs went, as I'm sure they did for you. Diary cleared, tumbleweed whistling through my diary. And I thought, okay, Caryn said do for others, what can I do for others? And I thought, well, I'm writing about resilience. So I just went out to all my clients and offered free resilience webinars to support their staff on how to build a resilient mindset, and some of the other insights that the Thrives has shared with me. And honestly, that was one of the things that was a real lifesaver for me. And now, sort of 15, 16 weeks in, I think I've spoken to about 2,000 people on these webinars, one way or another. So that's you that did that for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah, what I do now for work is I write op-eds for the St. Paul Pioneer Press. And so I started in March writing about COVID and, what's going to happen when they say we've got the all clear and we can run outside, are we going to celebrate and all that? And of course, it's just comical to think about that now, because that's not at all what's happened. But I feel like trying to make sense of something that's so unfamiliar and so huge has been the way that I've contributed. So I've just been writing about, first COVID and how we're coping, and, sort of moved into now how are we dealing with all of this other unrest and calls for change in our society, which are, really pretty significant. And now I think this week I'm circling back to, what happens now with kids having to go back to school, and, what are the long-term ramifications for people. I've got 8 little grandkids, and it's heartbreaking to look at them through a mask and have them say, oh, the germs, and, what can we do so that we all don't become a completely, tightly wound society because they're so worried about germs or something that's lurking out there. We don't even know exactly what it is.
Well, you put me in mind of one of the other thrivers, Joseph Ubelkas talks about how important it is to focus only on the things we can control and influence. And I think that has also been a real lifeline for me in these times, because there's so much noise going on. And you can be very easily distracted by a whole heap of stuff, a whole heap of uncertainty. And I keep coming back to, okay, what can I control and what can I influence? And that's where I'm going to put my energy. So making sense of it is part of that, making sense of what's going on logically, so you can say, okay, well, I need to put that to one side because I can't control or influence that, but I can do some stuff over here. That's been really helpful for me.
When the year began, my first column of the year was about being deliberate. And for the first time, I set out some very specific goals that I was going to accomplish, all of which became very difficult because we couldn't go anywhere. But now that summer's winding down and we're moving into the part of the year where we're going to naturally be more confined, I'm thinking again about being very deliberate. Like, how will I manage this? How will I stay connected? How am I going to stay healthy physically and mentally? Because I feel like this next stretch could potentially be more difficult than what's behind us, because this isn't going to be a quickly resolved problem, and we are going to be indoors and we are going to be estranged from people. And so I think it's a time for all of us to be deliberate and thoughtful. What's worked, what hasn't, what's been missing, what can I bring into my life, where do I need help, where can I offer help to get through this, because it's going to be around for a while, unfortunately.
Oh, I love that. I mean, that's a wonderful note to end on, because being deliberate is actually what has got me back into a thriving state, because I deliberately looked at what the strategies are that you and the other 49 thrivers spoke about and applied them very deliberately in my life. So I hope that your story and your insights, both on this video but also in the book, are really helpful to people through the next phase of COVID. Caryn, it has been a joy. It's such a joy. 2.5 years it's been since we sat down together in person and I heard all about your story and your amazing journey towards thriving. Thank you so much for appearing on the video.
You. I cannot wait until September 10th to listen to the book.
Me neither.